And the Texas Water Development Board basically writes a very low to no interest loan to municipalities or participating agencies, nonprofits who want to come in there. And a good example is in Marfa. They couldn't get a AAA rating. They're Marfa. I mean, they got a tiny little community, and through SWIFT, they got a loan for the project was $700 million. Now, had they had to go through another process, it would have been closer to $1 million. Same thing with Tarrant County. Tarrant County got huge projects. The overall compounded rate of return, the savings to taxpayers across the state, is about 22% over if we didn't have the SWIFT or did have the SWIFT. But my point is that I'm on this oversight committee, and we're going to look at what Water Board has been doing and how they're spending it, and if they're spreading it around the state. But one thing I want to make certain is they do some stuff that does not require delving into East Texas. Right now, our water plan is from the 1940s. It's open reservoirs during areas of times of drought when you lose 20% to evaporation. There's no state west of the Mississippi who's building a reservoir. Texas has 135 state water plants. We're not going to fund those. We don't need to fund those. There's a thing called aquifer storage and restoration, and that is pumping it down in the aquifers, finding aquifers that have been drained and pumping the water down there. Desal, I thought desal was a pie in the sky deal, but it's come a long way in the last 20 years, especially the last 8 years. We have no desal in our state water plant. So my point is, the other two guys, one guy's from the Valley, been around about 10 years. The other guy's from San Antonio. He's the author of the Gridzilla bill. And then there's me. And so my point is, I'm gonna support the desal, and I'm gonna support the aquifer, because turn your eyes away from East Texas and come up with your own projects. And to me, that's the great thing about the SWIFT is stay out of East Texas. Let us use our water, for our development, our industry. I was on the LMVA board for 9 years, and I'm telling you that water is spoken for. With projects that are occurring right now and projects that were on the books, we could sell all that water in the next 30 years. Of it all contracted out. So they look over here and they see Rayburn with all this water, and like, you're not using it. It's like, it could be, that's jobs for Southeast Texas. And so we need them to come up with their own alternative supply of water, and I hope my participation in the SWIFT will do that. Some of the bills I'm going to work on, and then I want to hear some feedback from y'all if there's anything y'all want me to do. The first thing is my CPS bill. Basically, we have protective orders for adults, and we go bend over backwards for protective orders for women in abusive relationships who hang out with men they shouldn't be hanging out with, drug addicted, violent people. And so, as it is right now, anyone can say, a child down the street from me he's being assaulted, either physically or sexually assaulted. I can request directly from the DA's office a protective order, and they investigate it and they figure out if I'm telling the truth or not. And that's it. That's the extent of a juvenile protective order. So, what I want to do is, why don't we have protective orders for the child against their own parents? Because I think that as soon as you stop becoming a mom and dad to your children, you're no longer a parent. You have no rights. The child's rights supersede your rights. And what I want to do is, I want to have CPS go in, only CPS can ask for it. Not any neighbor, not someone down the street, not a relative, not an interested party. CPS goes to the judge and says, the child's mother is bipolar. She leaves him for 3 days at a time. He's dressing himself. He's feeding himself. The teachers can attest to this. The neighbors can attest to this. But there's an uncle who took his brother or took his cousin 2 years ago. He's a good guy. He and his wife are good people. He's got a great job at the plant. He makes enough money. We can go do a home study. We can interview the children. Rather than take that, he's not a foster parent, mind you. All right? So the child's options are take him from the mother, put him in foster care, move him from Jefferson County to Newton County, put him in school with people they don't know, put him in a home they've never seen before, around other children with the same issues. Now you tell me the trauma that child just went through. Yeah. All right? Now you're going to pay attorney fees, CPS caseload, you're going to be paying the DA, you're going to be paying the court, You can have home study, $600 right there. We're talking about saving millions of dollars and thousands of hours from our agencies here locally at the county. And all you're doing is temporary placing that child with someone they already know, a stable environment. And here's why it's important, because that protective order allows that grandfather or relative to make educational decisions, medical decisions. They want to go on a field trip, he can sign that form. They have no instrument like that right now. It's either they stay where they are or they go to foster care. And that's it. It's already an overtaxed system. This is not something the DA's office will tell you, CPS will tell you that, CASA, guardhouse. This is not something that's going to happen every day. But the week we had this meeting, they had 2 instances, 2 little girls, unrelated, 2 different homes. Last week of school, into the school year festivities, the parties, you're all excited, jerked out of their home in the middle of the night. One of them spent the night in CPS offices until they found a foster care and sent 2-3 counties away for a couple weeks. Both of them had relatives who had taken that child in a heartbeat. Because you take care of your kin, you take care of your loved ones, your blood. This is a end around on that. The judge can rescind that order tomorrow. If he says it's not working out, the mom's not that bad, 2 days later, they're back with the mom. But once you start that CPS casework, once you start that process of case studies and attorneys, and my wife's going to kill me because she's going to lose my item fees on this deal because she represents the kids in these situations. She'll tell you everyone in these communities know who they know where this kid could go. They've seen this. She's seen fourth generation in the CPS world. The great-grandmother, the grandmother, the mom, and the child. They're all been shipped away. It's nothing new to them. But if you can circumvent that process, save that trauma from on the child, save a ton of taxpayer money, and save the backlog of our courts and CPS, I think it's a great thing. I've already met with Texas Youth Commission, Children's Commission in Austin. It's chaired by Eva Guzman from the Texas Supreme Court. They've never heard of this. They're not saying you can't do it. They think it's, they're not going to comment until I actually show them the bill. But basically, all it does is really change what is abused and neglected on a child. To allow the restraining order. That's all it is. It's just changing the definition and allowing the judge the discretion to do it or not do it. So that's probably one of my big pieces, my big boy legislation, I like to call it, next session. But the other thing I'm going to do is appraisal boards. Now, I don't want to steal James White's thunder, but if there's a man throwing boxes of tea into the Sabine River right now, it's James White, because y'all going to get an earful when he speaks. I hope to be there. He is, the appraisal process just went on steroids this past year. And when I came back and gave my legislative wrap up from the 84th, I said, we passed this $10,000 increase in your homestead exemption, and none of you are going to feel it. They're just going to raise your appraisal, and you're just going to go along, blip, 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 and you're not going to see true savings. And that's exactly what happened in most communities. Some weren't bad about it. My appraisal didn't change in my home, and I'll get to that in a second. Probably because they knew better, because they did to me last year. But we got a major problem with our appraisals here in the state of Texas, and I think the problem is taxation without representation. I don't know if you've heard that before, but it kind of led to last week's July 4th celebration. But I want to see the members of the appraisal district be elected on a county commissioner basis. Your precinct for county commissioner will also be your appraisal district member. The 5th member will be our tax assessor collector, who's also elected by us. So it'll be Allison Getz here in Jefferson County, plus 4 members elected by you. How can you argue that's a bad thing? I'll give you my little horror story. I don't need too much longer. I got an appraisal last year from my house, and it was outrageous. I'm like, where did you come up with this number? And it turned out the previous homeowner sent in that survey saying what I paid for the house. But what he did not send in was the fact that he left 5 TVs, a washer, a dryer, a refrigerator, and all this other equipment and removables from the home, fixtures that he could have removed. And I said, he didn't want to mess with them, and I said, fine, I'll take them. And he put a value that actually equaled what they were trying to raise. And then I went back, started doing some homework, and they have my home was built in 1988. It was built in 1978. They had it 2,500 square feet. It was 2,440 square feet. And they had my lot as 0.02 acres larger than it actually was. 4 key data points. And I'm surprised, the guys, a couple of them were drooling. It was early in the morning. I mean, God bless their hearts, but they were getting their $50 a day. I don't think, but maybe one of them blinked. And they said, we're going to go with what our expert said it's worth. I'm like, so a document that says this is what I paid is valid, but I had the previous homeowner write a letter saying he left all this, equipment there, and but no, that wasn't valid. But this one was. That's happening all over the state of Texas. They're taking advantage of the process. They're blaming it on the comptroller, and we're going to find out very soon. The next time we get in front of our and I like our Hager's a good dude, but I want to know what his office is telling people, because I'm in the commercial real estate world, and we have properties, outside this area, and all those counties are being told the same thing. They've been audited by the comptroller, and they said you're not taxing enough. So we will pull certain funding from you unless you start raising your appraisal. So what's happening? One particular area that they've really keyed in on is timber. James White's got a lot of timber in his district. He's got a lot of constituents who have a lot of timber in his district, and there's been cases where they've gone up 900. 1,100%.
Whoa.
Yet you can't sell it. There's no way you can sell it for that kind of money. Yes, sir.
Up in Jasper, we had some experience, and we were told that taxes on lots that lost its timber exemption would go up 5 times.
So I'm not surprised.
What the tax was. Tax is like $100.
Sure.
For a piece of
Well,
property.
he's. I don't want to steal his thunder because he is fired up on this deal. But I'm gonna get behind him, and we're gonna do what we can. We're not gonna be the only ones. This is happening across the state. So, one thing, speaking of taxes, this is something that really is near and dear to, I think, Southeast Texas. And we have these large refineries, and they come in, and they go to the local governments, and they say, give us this big tax break, give us this abatement over 10 years, and we're gonna take $1 billion facility, and we're gonna make it $2.5 billion. And then in 10 years, that's going to be in your tax rolls. And then in 10 years, they do this thing called the uniform and equal. And basically, it's chapters 41 and 42 of the tax code. And they go in there and they find a refinery in New Jersey that's similar, and they say, well, it's only worth $300,000. So we're going to sue you on the 41 and 42. And they win. Valero wins.
Is that what Lane Walker was doing?
I don't know. Valero's done it in San Antonio, Corpus, and down here in Port Arthur.
Okay.
And ExxonMobil did it somewhere else in Texas, but it hasn't been really, caught on. But it's going to start. I mean, these companies are starting to figure out as soon as we get up our abatements, and we do abatements around here, and that's fine if that's what the local elected officials want to get into. But fine. But I think if you get an abatement under Chapter 312 of the tax code, then you don't get to use Chapter 41 and 42 for a period of 5 years. I mean, you can't have it both ways. And what they do is, what does Port Arthur do? If they lose $20 million from Valero, they turn around and they find it somewhere else. But they were told in 10 years, you're going to have this windfall. And in 10 years, they get walled whipped by some very good tax attorneys, and they lose. And they've lost. Valero's been doing it all over the country. They're particularly ambitious on it. So that's my proposal. If you choose abatement, you can't go on 41 and 42 and try to get it back 10 years later. Then I'm going to file a bill. I'm sure I won't be the only one, but we'll see the elimination of the rollback tax. It's absurd. If you have a piece of property, it was ag exempted, let's say, it's got some cattle on it, and years go by and there's some development starts happening in your area, maybe tech stock increases the highway or puts in a new curb cut, and then they want to put in a gas station. So you sell it, the county can come back and say, you owe us 5 years back taxes from the old value to the new value. Pay us up. And if you're not sophisticated enough to put in the closing statement and the HUD to have the new buyer pay it, then you're stuck with the tab. If it wasn't commercial 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, why would you pay on it now? That's the most absurd money grab. So that needs, if we're going to get into appraisals and property taxes, let's go ahead and do that too. A little change of pace. I don't know what's going to cost the state, because every time you toy with No Child Left Behind, there is a cost to the state. from the federal government. But the fact that we strap children in the chairs and make them take the STAR test and they're severely mentally handicapped is unforgivable. And the House passed this and the Senate refused to. I don't know why. I'd love to figure it out. We had an amendment on a larger bill and they struck it out over there. And they literally have to strap some of these children down with straps for 4 hours, stare on a screen. 4 hours is up, they took the test. That's unbelievable. And I mean, it's not right. And you know, I've heard about it here locally from parents, so I'm gonna file that bill as well. You know, CHL fees. Why is our concealed handgun fee so high? It's the highest in the country. I want DPS to, you know, come in the appropriations committee and tell me why if they can't justify. You know, some states are $5. I mean, what's that? Well, that's another topic. Cloud storage. This is something I think I kind of talked to Jeff about it one day. But why do we still have all these old school servers all over the state of Texas? All of our state agencies are server based. The AG's office is finally getting off of that and going to web cloud based. And so, if I'm back on Article 3, I'm going to try to get in the budget as a rider that all of our universities have to start switching over to cloud based storage. And I pay 99 cents a year for like, I don't know how many gigabytes, I'm not all into that, but it's more than I could ever use, and it's all cloud storage. If I try to do that on the old school hard drive, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. The state needs to get into the 21st century and start getting into the cloud. It's just as cyber secure as a reliable server might be. There was some talk about a DNA lab. Was brought up, and it's actually in the newspaper about adding a DNA component to Jefferson County's regional crime lab. We met last week, and it's just not feasible. It's just too much money. It's a $5 million build out and a probably $4 million yearly charge to the county. But what makes it attractive is, it's a Fifth and Sixth Amendment issue too, that we arrest people and it takes 2 years, 18 months to get the DNA back. We don't know if it's cocaine or crushed gypsum drywall. I mean, oregano or weed, we have no idea, but it takes 2 years. Meanwhile, that person's in jail. We're paying for it. They may want to be in jail, I don't know. But it's such a backlog in the state. And I think the answer to it is that Jefferson County doesn't need to build out. I don't know who leaked that to the VIs, to the Bowman Enterprise that was even being considered here locally. Someone did, because it sounded like a meeting I had about 2 months ago, verbatim. But we met, and there's just no way that we can justify it. Pasadena had a large crime lab, and just this past year they shut it down. It was costing them $5 million a year, and they shut it down. They contracted with Harris County now at $500,000. So, I think there's something we could do here. We have a nice crime lab, but I don't think that's the answer, and that was brought up earlier. I just wanted to address that. And my last thing I'll say is that, and I can't tell you what the news is, but I got a great phone call today about some VIC stuff. And let me tell you that things are working out just like they should be. There's some very happy people on Wednesday, some very disappointed people on Wednesday. I think most folks in this room will be very, very happy about the direction that is taking the TEA. So at that, filibustered my way into anything, but I'd be happy to lie to you up here in front of everybody, or one-on-one. I can make things up, whatever you want to say.
You can lie right up front, huh?
There you go.
Okay, I appreciate the fact that you invited input on whatever issue you want to bring. And so I sent you a letter, and I'm sure you read it, and about printing Republic of Texas money as a FDIC for Texas. You put it in state banks, they have to take it because we hold a charter, or anybody who would accept it.
A state security bank, SSB, or any bank.
It will initially state banks, or anybody else who would accept it, and they put it in the wallets. They don't circulate it until the greenback goes to hell in a handbasket. Then you take dollar for dollar, you replace it with our currency. And you were talking about the fact that our economy is one of the best in the world.
The 12th largest, will overtake Canada in the next 4 years.
Exactly. And who wouldn't take our money?
Well, I'll tell you what I've done with your idea. You know Giovanni Capriglione? You know the name? He worked very hard. He's the one who got the gold bullion depository, the gold depository established here in Texas. And at the public convention, they actually had some renderings of what it's going to look like, and we're going to have our own Fort Knox. So I sent it to him, and I asked, because he knows all about this. He's a financial investment guy, and I said, "What do you think about this idea?" And I'm going to see him next week at the hearing on border security, and I'll ask him about that. But I'm not an expert on that, so I wanted to get his thoughts on that.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
How do you, Greg Abbott said he's gonna do the convention of states. How do you feel on that?
I support him. I've met with the local convention of states representatives, and I mean, if we can move forward with it, that'd be great. I agree with them. Texas is a bellwether. If Texas can pass that, I think you're going to see a bunch of states getting behind, because Texas has always led the nation on so many ideas, and there's so many states considering it. But if a big boy like Texas can do it, then I think you'll see that number increase dramatically.
Well,